In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NFL games happening on December 7, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NFL games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Washington Commanders versus Minnesota Viking. The Minnesota Vikings enter Week 14 at home against the Washington Commanders after a brutal outing last weekend. They did not score against Seattle in a 26-0 loss, and the offense never settled in with Max Brosmer at quarterback. With J.J. McCarthy in the concussion protocol and Carson Wentz out for the year, head coach Kevin O'Connell had no real choice at the position. Brosmer, an undrafted rookie, hit on 19 of 30 throws for 126 yards with no touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and one of those picks went back for a score. McCarthy is set to return to the lineup for this game, but his first real season as a pro has gone poorly and the passing game has not looked stable at any point. Washington does not look like a contender, but it stays in games. The Commanders have dropped 2 straight in overtime, 16-13 to the Dolphins and 27-26 to the Broncos, and they have stayed within a single score late in both contests. Minnesota has not come close to that level of late. The Vikings have dropped their last 2 games by a combined 49-6, and trends at the window match the on-field issues, with Minnesota at 0-4 against the spread in the last 4 overall, and 1-4 against the spread in its last 5 at home. Both clubs have faced a harsh schedule. The Vikings sit 6th in strength of schedule and the Commanders sit 8th, so neither has had a soft path. Washington comes off back-to-back overtime setbacks, but still shows full effort. Daniels practiced in full on Thursday, which signals that this group keeps pushing despite a rough record. If he cannot go, Marcus Mariota brings some momentum after a strong showing in Denver, and that at least gives Washington a veteran option that can run the offense. The Football Power Index reflects the gap in recent performance. Washington slots in at 23rd, while Minnesota sits at 27th, even though the Vikings have a small edge in record. The Commanders also showed real fight in last Sunday night's 27-26 overtime loss to Denver, where they went for the win and came up short on a 2-point try instead of settling for a safe approach. The Commanders' offense now trends toward better health at a key point. Jaden Daniels returns to the starting job after timeout with an elbow issue, and his dual threat profile stresses a defense that has not handled quarterbacks on the move during this 4-game slide. Washington picks up 138.9 rushing yards per game, 3rd in the league, and that ground game should keep them in front of the chains. Minnesota's defense looks solid on most snaps but gives up 128.4 rushing yards per game, so long drives on the ground are in play. In the passing game, Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz give Daniels steady options on key downs. On the other side, Minnesota has given the ball away 26 times, the most in the league, and that sets up short fields for Washington and lets the Commanders dictate tempo without a need for explosive plays. Minnesota's own attack has dragged the team down. The Vikings have scored 42 points in the last 4 games, and the shutout in Seattle underlined how little margin they have when the quarterback spot breaks down. McCarthy returns, but the offense sits 29th in total yards at 272.6 per game and keeps turning the ball over. Washington's defense has weak spots and does not grade as a top unit, yet against a group that hands out so many extra possessions, it only has to create a few key takeaways. At quarterback, Washington can turn to Daniels with his legs and arm or to Mariota as a veteran, while Minnesota must choose between an out-of-rhythm McCarthy and an overmatched Brosmer, which makes the home team hard to trust. In this setup, Washington stands out as the more dependable side at the key position and with game flow. As our first pick for this matchup, the Washington Commanders' money line is our full game side pick. Washington has dealt with its own rotation at quarterback through this 2025 season. Jaden Daniels has missed chunks of time with more than one injury, and a dislocated elbow has kept him off the field since Week 9. Reports give him some chance to suit up here, but that chance does not look strong. If he cannot go, either a limited Daniels or Marcus Mariota will run the offense for head coach Dan Quinn. Neither outcome looks perfect. Mariota's 6 starts tell the story of his year, with 1,349 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, touchdowns and 6 interceptions, solid enough to move the ball but not enough to lift the offense into a high-scoring range. Minnesota's situation under center does not inspire confidence either. McCarthy upgrades the position from Brosmer, yet that is a low bar. After missing all of 2024 with a torn ACL, he has played like a rookie in every sense. He has completed 54.1% of his passes, and he has thrown 10 interceptions against 6 touchdown passes. The Vikings will not face the same level of defense they saw in Seattle, so another shutout is unlikely, since Washington has struggled far more on that side of the ball. Even with that in mind, there is little reason to believe that an offense with this profile will move the ball with ease. Both teams have labored on offense the whole year. Together they score 40.5 points per game, which is low for two modern NFL attacks, and Minnesota has put only 6 total points on the board in its last 2 contests. Washington leans on the ground game and a controlled passing script rather than quick strikes, and Minnesota's issues in protection and at quarterback keep many drives from reaching the red zone. Defensive play for both teams has its rough patches, but the lack of rhythm and efficiency on offense on each side points toward a contest with long stretches of field position and few clean scoring chances. The matchup shapes up as a grind where touchdowns are hard to find. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Cincinnati Bengals versus Buffalo Bills. The Bengals shocked a national audience on Thanksgiving night when they went into Baltimore as almost a touchdown underdog and came out with a win. The return of Joe Burrow looked like a clear turning point for their offense, and their defense played with more energy than we had seen for a while. The result kept Cincinnati alive in an AFC North race that now looks very soft at the top. That surface story has grown fast, and the talk about Burrow and the Bengals has started to swell in a way that does not match what the numbers show as they head into this game against Buffalo. The main talking point this week has been Cincinnati's revived offense. The data tells a different story. The Bengals posted a success rate that sat in the bottom 5 among all teams that played last week. That came against a Ravens secondary that entered the game banged up and short on bodies. Their offense gained only 4.8 yards per play, which is modest at best, and many of their drives started from strong field position. That kind of hidden benefit from turnovers, short fields, and special teams does not tend to show up the same way in back-to-back weeks, especially against a defensive front that has started to surge. Buffalo's defensive line now comes in after strong efforts against Houston and Pittsburgh. The Texans and Steelers may not carry the same ceiling as a Burrow-led Bengals passing game, but those games showed a front that can win one-on-one, hold up against the run, and get to the quarterback without constant blitz help. When that front matches up with a Cincinnati offensive line that still shows cracks in pass protection, the setup favors the Bills' ability to generate pressure and force the Bengals into longer passing downs. On defense, Cincinnati looks sharper than it did early in the season, yet the context matters. The Bengals fed off 5 Baltimore turnovers, including a fumble out of the end zone that wiped a near-certain Ravens touchdown and flipped the entire rhythm of the game. Extra possessions, sudden changes, and surprise stops can make any defense look better on one week's highlight reel. Facing Buffalo at home is a different task. The Bills have gone through a recent stretch with too many fumbles and tipped interceptions over the last 4 games, and those events often move back toward the mean. In this spot, that points toward a cleaner game from Josh Allen and this offense. Cincinnati does ride real momentum into this matchup. The energy from beating Baltimore and getting Burrow back from injury is easy to see. The Bengals still bring one of the stronger passing attacks in the league, with a quarterback who can exploit single coverage and a receiver group that wins on the outside. Their weakness sits on the other side of the ball. The defense grades out as below average at best and gives up chunk plays far too often. Buffalo has lurched through an uneven stretch over its last 5 games, but the Bills possess a scheme and personnel that can move the ball on this particular defense, both through the air and on the ground. Scoring potential stays high because of how Cincinnati games have played out. The Bengals have given up at least 34 points in 3 of their last 5 outings, which signals real issues in coverage and tackling, not just bad breaks. At the same time, Buffalo's defense has the pieces to create more key stops than Cincinnati's unit when each side faces a high-end quarterback. That mix of offensive talent, defensive gaps, and matchup strength outlines how this game sets up on the side. As our first pick for this matchup, the Buffalo Bills to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Buffalo's plan on offense under Joe Brady has a clear tilt toward the ground game. This version of the Bills uses the highest rush rate in the league, which shows a conscious choice to lean on the running backs and the quarterback's legs instead of chasing volume through the air. That style also limits snaps for the defense and cuts down the number of total total possessions for both teams. Long drives, deliberate tempo, and frequent runs create game scripts where the clock runs often and the number of explosive series falls. In this matchup, that approach has extra appeal. Cincinnati's offense, while dangerous on paper, has received more praise than its down-to-down results support after the win over Baltimore. The status of T. Higgins still hangs in the air, and losing or limiting a key receiver matters in a game that will likely take place in very cold and somewhat windy conditions on Sunday. Wind and cold tend to hurt vertical passing more than short routes or the run game, which tilts conditions toward the style Buffalo already prefers. Last week against Pittsburgh, the Bills leaned on James Cook as the central piece of the attack. He ran for 144 yards, while Josh Allen threw for 123 yards. That split shows a template that fits well in a December setting with tough weather. You protect the ball, lean on the ground game, and ask your quarterback to hit selective throws rather than carry the entire load with high-risk attempts into tight windows. Cincinnati brings a very different run profile. The Bengals sit 30th in the league at 88.5 rushing yards per game. That level of ground production makes it harder to extend drives when deep shots are less available. If the wind limits Burrow's throws to Jamar Chase down the field, then Cincinnati has to piece together longer series with a run game that has not produced consistent gains and a short passing game that defenses can sit on. The matchup between Buffalo's pass defense and Cincinnati's passing attack also matters for the total. The Bills rank first in the league at 163.2 passing yards allowed per game. That production reflects tight zone coverage, smart safety play, and a pass rush that speeds up quarterbacks. Cincinnati's defense, while porous on many fronts, has at least shown the ability to force opponents into sustained possessions instead of constant quick strikes. When both defenses can encourage methodical drives, the game tends to feature fewer total plays and fewer sudden scoring bursts. The quarterback names on the marquee will pull many eyes toward the over because matchups with Allen and Burrow usually create images of fireworks. The way Buffalo wants to play on offense, the state of Cincinnati's run game, the possible absence of Higgins, the expected cold and wind, and the strength of the Bills' pass defense together point toward a contest that relies more on patience than on constant big plays. The flow described by those factors fits a lower total. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Tennessee Titans versus Cleveland Browns. The resistible force meets the movable object when the 1-11 Tennessee Titans head to Cleveland to face the 3-9 Browns, and the matchup lines up in a brutal way for the visitors. Tennessee drags in a season that has gone off the rails, most of all on offense. Rookie quarterback Cam Ward has endured a rough introduction to the league. He has not thrown more than one touchdown pass in any game this year, and in his last 4 outings, he has topped 200 passing yards only once. The passing attack looks short, static, and easy to sit on. Across from him stands a Cleveland defense that thrives in the exact areas where Tennessee struggles. The Browns have allowed the 3rd fewest passing yards in the league and rank 2nd in total sacks. They compress throwing windows, then finish plays with pressure. That is a nightmare for a Titans line that has surrendered more sacks than any other team. Ward should face constant heat, rushed reads, and a collapsing pocket on most passing downs. Tennessee's attack has been flat for a long stretch. The Titans have scored more than 20 points only once in their last 7 games. Drives stall, they live in long yardage, and they lack explosive plays. Against a Cleveland defense this stingy, it is hard to find many paths for steady scoring. Short fields will be rare, and sustained marches down the field will demand a level of execution the Titans have not shown. On the other side, Cleveland's offense is not explosive, yet it has shown more shape. The Browns managed only 8 points against the 49ers last week, but context matters. In his 2 starts, Shedeur Sanders has been steady, if not electric. He operates the structure of the offense, keeps them on schedule, and leans on the ground game. Quinton Judkins has surged over the last few weeks, giving Cleveland a productive run threat who can keep the chains moving. Those strengths meet a Titans defense with clear flaws. Tennessee has allowed the 2nd most rushing touchdowns, so red zone runs are a real problem. Against the pass, they give up the 2nd most yards per attempt, which points to coverage breakdowns and soft spots that can be exploited even by a conservative passing plan. The Browns do not need a vertical fireworks show here. They can lean on a balanced script, mix in play action, and pick at Tennessee's weak spots. Recent form adds to the picture. The Titans have only 1 win this season and are coming off a 22-point loss to the Jaguars, another sign that they fade when games tilt against them. Cleveland, by contrast, grabbed a big road win 2 weeks ago, then lost to San Francisco in a game where the defense allowed only 252 total yards to a solid offense. That kind of showing backs up the season-long numbers and reinforces the idea that the Browns' defense travels and holds up. From a full season view, Tennessee sits at the bottom of the league on offense. The Browns' offense is also in the bottom tier, yet the gap between the two units is still clear once you factor in supporting cast and opponent strength. Ward and the Titans' passing game average only 165 yards per contest, and this matchup does not offer a soft landing. Cleveland keeps opponents to 169 passing yards per game and ranks third in the league in that category. Cleveland's offensive identity should tilt toward the run. That fits well against a Titans' rush defense graded 22nd in the league. If the Browns control the line of scrimmage and maintain time of possession, they also protect their own quarterback and keep the strain off a limited passing game. Meanwhile, each of Tennessee's last 3 road losses has come by at least 10 points, which highlights how quickly these games can get away from them once they fall behind. Taken together, the pressure mismatch up front, the form of both defenses, the gap between the rushing attacks, and the Titans' history of heavy road defeats all support a result where Cleveland not only secures the win but also finishes with a margin that clears the number. As our first pick for this matchup, the Cleveland Browns to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This Titans offense has struggled all year and now faces a Browns defense that attacks its biggest flaws. Tennessee has scored 14 points or fewer in 5 of its last 7 games. That lack of production matches what you expect from an offense with the most sacked quarterback in the league. Ward operates behind a shaky line, and Cleveland's front has already produced 43 sacks this season, so he should again spend much of the game under siege. The pressure story is one-sided, but turnovers may not be. Even with all the hits he has taken, Ward has thrown only 6 interceptions all year and has avoided a pick in each of his last 4 starts. That ball security matters in a low-scoring script. It makes sudden swings less likely and forces Cleveland to drive the field rather than live off short fields and defensive scores. Cleveland's own offense has similar limits. Sanders has been solid, but has not pushed the ball down the field on a regular basis. The Browns lean on their run game, call a controlled passing script, and accept that they will grind instead of explode. They have scored 20 points or fewer in 3 of their last 4 games. The one exception in that stretch was a 24-10 win over the Raiders, a game where Las Vegas failed to offer much resistance. Tennessee's defense should offer more resistance than the Raiders did, even if it has weak spots. The Titans can at least force Cleveland to earn each score. Combine that with Tennessee's own offensive issues, and you get a matchup where both teams spend a lot of time punting and settling for field goals when drives stall. Across the season, the Titans hold the worst offense in the league, and the Browns sit only slightly higher as the 4th worst. Their combined scoring average is just 30.4 points per game, which signals that most of their contests live in a narrow band of low totals. When you put 2 offenses like this on the same field, with one elite defense and one flawed but competent group on the other side, shootouts are rare. The recent betting trend matches the numbers. Across their last 5 games combined, these teams are 4-1 to the under. That record lines up with what the tape and the stats show: slow pace, long fields, heavy pressure on one quarterback, and a limited passing game on the other side. Even with one of the lowest totals on the board this season, the matchup still leans toward a final score that falls below the posted number. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Seattle Seahawks versus Atlanta Falcons. The Seattle Seahawks travel to face the Atlanta Falcons in Week 14 on Sunday afternoon. Seattle enters at 9-3 and shares the top spot in the NFC West with the Los Angeles Rams. The Seahawks bring a run of 2 straight wins and also gained ground when Carolina upset the Rams last weekend. Momentum sits with Seattle as it heads across the country for this matchup. On offense, Seattle leans on quarterback Sam Darnold, who carries a minor ankle issue into the week. He is listed as questionable on Wednesday, yet the injury is described as marginal and his game status should clear well before kickoff. Darnold has thrown for 2,913 yards with 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He often looks to wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has 82 catches for 1,336 yards and 7 scores and is viewed by many as the best player in the league at his position. Seattle's defense draws a favorable setup against an Atlanta unit that now starts backup Kirk Cousins with Michael Penix Jr. on injured reserve. Cousins has a long injury history and is 37 years old, which limits his mobility. The Falcons quarterback faces a difficult challenge against a Seahawks pass defense that ranks first in the league in yards allowed per attempt at 6.1. Seattle also ranks 4th in sacks with 40. That level of pressure is a major concern for a passer who does not escape the pocket. Form trends also tilt toward Seattle. Atlanta has dropped 6 of its last 7 games, even if it has stayed close in many of those defeats. The Falcons fell by 3 points to the Jets and Panthers, by 6 in overtime to the Colts, and by 1 to the Patriots on a missed extra point. Seattle has taken 6 of its last 7 contests and comes into this game with confidence. The Seahawks defense looks sound and is getting healthier as the season moves toward the stretch run. The kickoff time, set for 10 a.m. Pacific, is not ideal for a West Coast team, yet Seattle still appears to be in a stronger place than a Falcons squad that keeps sliding. As our first pick for this matchup, the Seattle Seahawks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Kirk Cousins no longer plays at his peak level, but his recent work has been serviceable. Over his last 2 starts, he has a 3-to-1 ratio of touchdowns to interceptions. Atlanta scored 24 points in each of those games against the Saints and the Jets, which shows that this offense can still move the ball. Running back Bijan Robinson, described as perhaps the best back in the league, gives the Falcons a true centerpiece. Wide receiver Drake London, who has missed the last 2 games with a knee issue, has a solid chance to return and would add a needed outside target. Total scoring still points towards Seattle as the main driver. The Seahawks sit 4th in the league in scoring at 29.2 points per game. They rank 9th in total offense and 9th in passing offense. Seattle has put up at least 26 points in 5 of its last 6 outings, a run that includes performances of 38 and 44 points. This track record shows that this unit can produce at a high level against a range of opponents. Atlanta's defense enters this game with key holes. Cornerback Billy Bowman Jr. and pass rusher Zach Harrison are on injured reserve, which weakens both coverage and the pass rush. The Falcons stand 3rd in the league in sacks, but that figure reflects how often they blitz. That approach carries risk when it can leave Smith and Jigba isolated in single coverage against overmatched defensive backs. Extra pressure may hurry Darnold at times, yet it also creates chances for explosive plays that keep the scoreboard active. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.